Hey, everybody. It's Bardown Breakdown. And conspicuous by my absence is me. I'm coming to you from the cloud. And I don't have a face right now because I have a blue screen of death on my computer. But don't let that deter you from enjoying this episode. We've got so many Nicks. We've got the Nick and the other Nick from Out of It, Orlando Pop Punk representing. So, super stoked to have you on, boys. What's going on?
What's up?
Glad
Super
to be
stoked
here.
to be here, man.
This is sick, man.
Dude, we appreciate you guys being on, giving us some of your time, and I know you guys had told us you've been listeners for a while, so we appreciate your patronage there for sure.
Oh yeah.
So let's just jump right into it. So what do we got? Let's just jump right into hockey stuff. We usually start with music, but I kind of want to start with some hockey stuff this time, just to
Let's
kind
do
of
it.
flip it up a bit. So I know one of y'all was a Hawks fan.
Yeah.
What else do we got?
We got a sad Sabres fan here tonight. So it's been a ride, dude. Oh.
I can't even imagine. I know. I forget who it was. It might have been the Athletic or someone did I think we talked about it in a couple of shows ago, but someone did like a ranking, like a power ranking. And I guess it was kind of facetious, really knocking the Sabres, but they put the Seattle Kraken at 31, the Sabres at 32. It was rough, man. I feel for you guys because, Mikey and I have talked about it before. Buffalo is such an interesting place because it's like you've got these rabid fans, Sabres fans and Bills fans. And
you can't forget the Bills Mafia.
It's crazy. And it's just like, you've got such a crazy fan base, and here the Sabres are just having such a rough go at it, and it's a bit of a bummer. But have you, as a Sabres fan, with what's going on, have you been able to find any silver lining?
I mean, obviously, I'm waiting for that fucking number one draft pick now.
Hey,
so
there you
go. That's true.
So we got that coming. But I don't know, man. It's just this whole season's been such a roller coaster because we started out so strong with Jack Eichel and Taylor Hall, man, thinking that this is going to be the season that we got a big three. It's going to be one for the books, and I mean it has been one for the books, but in probably the worst way possible.
Yeah, for sure.
We beat the losing streak record in the NHL, so that's cool, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But I mean, it's definitely been a tough season to watch, but I'm just fortunate and glad that we have hockey to begin with. You know what I mean? It gives us something to do during all this. You know what I mean? So, if it's gonna happen and we're gonna suck, this is the season to do it. So, here's the next one.
And last season and this season. No.
Well,
but the problem is the Rangers and those teams that don't even deserve first overall picks. With the way the lottery system works, you can have this terrible, terrible season, and it's not even necessary that you guys are going to get that first overall pick. And from everything I've heard, this is not a strong draft class coming up. So it's not even it's a guy that you could draft that's going to change the franchise. I think that you guys kind of got snake bitten with some bad luck. Some of the free agents that you got 5-6 years ago, especially from the Islanders, have hurt you guys. The Matt Molson pickup, the Kyle Oposo pickup, those two were kind of big blockbuster free agents and did not really pan out for you. They kind of got hurt, and now you're still, eating up that salary. It's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just seeing where it goes from here. There's even been, management changes, so hopefully that'll shake things up a little bit for the better. But I don't know, man. The way I see it is it can only go up from here. So that's.
But didn't the owner come out and say it's better to lose than to win at this point? I saw some quote.
Which
from
okay,
the owner,
I get trying to save face, but dude, just at this point, you're saying, man, the fans especially are just so sick of this. It's just I don't know. We're doing what we can, trying to keep our head up, but team's just not doing it for us right now. But what can you do?
I guess I'm so confused about the whole fandom for you two, because we just talked about it in the introduction that you guys are from Orlando. You're an Orlando pop punk band. It makes no damn sense that you're a Sabres fan and you're a Blackhawks fan. So can you fill us in on how this happened? And
yeah, so I mean, for both of us, I think it's just basically like our hometowns, sort of. You know what I mean? Because my family and I raised all the way up in New York. I moved down here when I was 4, so I don't remember too much. But my parents still have the accent and everything, and that's still big New York vibes in the household for sure. And my dad was a big Islanders fan for a while because we're from Long Island actually. But I always kind of wanted to stray from the path a little bit, be like, oh, I want to be my own guy, And I always loved upstate New York, man. Just being there, the vibes up there, where it's just not the hustle and bustle of the big city, and just like you said, like the fans up there, man, are just so passionate about the sports and everything. So it's definitely a cool place to be around, even. So I always gravitated toward the Buffalo area in sports, especially.
now, is your dad around for this interview? Because we'd rather talk with him at this point. You just mentioned that he's an Islander fan, so.
No, unfortunately, no. I'm not at my house right now. You're gonna have to talk to the Blackhawks fan if you're trying to talk to your dad right now. So.
Just kidding. But Nick too, I guess let's hear how you became a Blackhawks fan.
So, man, this goes way back. Basically, like, probably when I was like 3 years old, like, I know for facts, like, my dad, he just like put a hockey stick in my hand. I played hockey. I just grew up around the sport. But the Blackhawks, he's been a Blackhawks fan. Like, he is literally, anyone in the Orlando pop punk scene knows who Geo-Man is. He's the biggest Blackhawks fan probably in the state of Florida. I'd give him that. But, I just kind of followed that. Obviously, when I was a little kid, I grew up when Patrick Kane got drafted, when Jonathan Toews got drafted, the rebuilding of the dynasty, and then the dynasty just took off. So I was like, I'm not hopping off of this. They're good. And, they're just an exciting team to watch, even though right now they're breaking my heart in every way. And they're just the most up and down NHL team and franchise in the league. I still, I'm sticking with them regardless. I just hope no one gets angry with whatever's going on. Like, I have this weird theory about Taze he's leaving. I know he's gone. I think that's why, I don't know. We can get into this later, but that's pretty much how I'm a Blackhawks fan.
So are you like born and raised in Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay. But your dad, I'm guessing, is from Chicago originally?
Yeah. My dad's from just outside of Chicago, like Elmhurst.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, you mentioned how the Blackhawks are kind of streaky and up and down, and a lot of people wrote them off to like finish towards the bottom, but
for sure
they're hanging in there. Where it's like now you're in that tough situation. We got the trade deadline approaching us, and actually by the time this interview comes out, the trade deadline will have come and gone. So like being in that position where you're on the outside looking in is always such a tough position to be at. Like you'd rather either like really be at the top or really at the bottom. Being in the middle is tough because like on one point the team wants to make the playoffs and wants to like sell season tickets and put seats people in the seats and whatnot, but then you have to think about like, is this team really built to win the Stanley Cup? Like, if you just squeak into the playoffs, what's the point and lose first? Like,
exactly.
And you don't have to tell me because that's literally what the Islanders did every year with John Tavares. Like, when we had John Tavares, we were always in, like, that, are we going to make the playoffs? Are we not going to make the playoffs? Should we get someone? Should we not? Should we trade people away? And it sucks. So, like, are you guys going to be buyers or sellers, do you think?
I mean, here's the thing. Stan Bowman, I don't know what he's doing. I really have no idea what he's doing, and like, because, the whole Corey Crawford thing, obviously some words were said. He was mad. I personally think Corey Crawford would have still played if he would have signed another year contract. And, obviously I think Kevin Lakinen's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. He's for being, the third string Rockford Ice Hogs coming out, he's good. But like, I do think we're going to sell, and I think Dylan Strome's gone on Monday. I'm calling it. I think he's going straight to Florida, and like, and it sucks because like, obviously you get to a point where, you're like, yes, I love this player. This player's okay, whatnot. Let's be real. I don't think they're not going to touch Kane. Like, they're just not. Like, that's just what's going to happen. But I truly think we're going to be, a selling team. And if we buy anyone, like today we got just two defensemen from the Panthers, like, who I've never heard of, and for 7th round picks, and we do need defense, but yeah, just to, wrap my thoughts up, definitely a selling team for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult position to be in, just to piggyback off of what Mikey said, because you want to show your fan base that you're committed to winning.
Yeah.
But how do you do that when you've got 2 superstars, granted they're aging superstars, but still,
yeah,
you've got these 2 guys on your team who carried you, obviously, well, I shouldn't say carried you, but were major building blocks in the cups that you won. So
for sure,
you wanna, your fan base respects them, and your fan base, I'm sure, has their own thinking about what would be the best, thing in terms of whether you move one of them or, maybe Kane, probably not, Taze maybe, but
yeah,
it's kind of a scary thought. So, how much could you get for a guy like that? How much would that help you in terms of cap space? What could you do in terms of trying to rebuild yourself into a contender with more youth, with more speed, with more agility, with more, playmaking ability in younger guys? So I think that's something that, the Hawks really kind of need to figure out, before the fan base starts getting ugly and turning on them, because, now we go to the other Nick, and that's kind of almost what's happening with the Sabres and Sabres fans, where, it's been such a long stretch of mediocrity. And, Mikey and I know that all too well, being Islanders fans, where at a certain point, the luster of, oh yeah, we're a terrible team, but it's a lot of fun, starts to kind of, creep up your neck, and, start getting a little shitty, shittier. Sure. And then before you know it, you're like, why am I going to bother turning on the game? I don't want to see, my favorite team get, beat by 5 goals and 4 goals. So as far as selling is concerned, the talk, it's still talking is Taylor Hall. So, what's your take on the whole Taylor Hall experiment? Why do you think it's not working out the way it was intended?
I mean, dude, like you kind of said, trying to build chemistry around like one player on the team. You know what I mean? First mistake, obviously. Obviously you had Jack Eichel. Him getting hurt didn't help, and just having Taylor trying to, I don't know, carry the team almost, and just not delivering to what anything expected. It's just, it's nobody likes to see that, So at this point, seeing him go, it's almost just like, nobody didn't see that coming. I feel like, it's just kind of like the best you can hope for is like, hopefully we get, a pick that's worth trading for, and I don't know. You touched on it earlier with the Panthers. Like I have a feeling, Taylor could end up going to the Panthers, and they'll be a fun team to watch at least. You know what I mean? Just to give some distraction from the dumpster fire that might be Buffalo at the moment. But yeah, I mean, trying to look at the like you said, the silver lining of whatever we possibly can at this point. But
yeah, like no one at the start of the season was predicting Buffalo to win the Stanley Cup. Like no one. So at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt for you guys to trade Taylor Hall, because you guys got him for nothing. It was like a 1-year kind of experiment. So if you turn that into like a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick or whatever, that's a win in my eyes, because you didn't have to give up much to get him, you didn't give up anything to get him. So like, it's pretty win-win situation for that part. But like I mentioned, it's some of those contracts that you guys just need to unload, so that I'm sure you guys are just salivating at that expansion draft, like, oh my god, who can we dump? Like, what bad contract?
I mean, for sure. I mean, at that point, that's all we got to hold on to. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Losing a captain's not fun too. So, and that looks like that's probably going to end up happening. So.
Now, I think it's really super interesting to me the way that these expansion drafts work in the NHL specifically, because it's almost like there are a small handful of teams that are willing to make deals to make sure that certain players are taken, and kind of sweetening the pot with whether it's extra cash or draft picks or however it's done. I know a lot of Islanders fans are hoping that our GM is able to make a deal to dump Andrew Ladd off to the Kraken to get rid of all of that. Yeah, that's a rough one. That was a rough deal that we made. But it's tough. It's tough because hindsight is a weird thing. When you looked at a guy, me personally, when you look at a guy like Andrew Ladd on the surface before he came over to the Islanders, you're like, okay, well, this guy could be a strong player. This guy can sit on our second and third line and make plays and get things done. And he just completely flopped. So for you guys being Sabres and Hawks fans, just talking about the expansion draft a little bit, who are you? I guess let's frame it this way: if you had to pick one guy that you don't want to see go and one guy that you would absolutely want to see go from your teams, who would they be?
So Patty Kane staying. Malcolm Subban, he can pack his bags. He can head over to Seattle.
All right.
I mean, honestly, I want to see Samson Reinhart stay. I mean, he's been, I would say, carrying the team at this point. Just the chemistry, even. I don't know, man, dude. At this point, picking up anybody, just anybody. Dude, I don't know. It's the last thing I even think about at this point. It's just like honestly.
Now you mentioned you'd be willing to see Subban go. So
yeah.
The goalie situation doesn't seem like a slam dunk right now in Chicago. So
No.
Like at this point, you got to hold on to he's not your starter though, right? He's more of a backup role.
Yeah. So Kevin Lankinen is a starter, much better. Subban, he has his moments. You can't be this. When I'm good this time and I'm not good at this time, like goalie to be in the NHL. And one of the things that like over the summer, obviously, Corey Crawford, he's not going to resign. He's going to get sent to the Devils, and he never ended up playing. But I feel like this summer was the summer of like the goalie. Like the Hawks could have picked someone up, and they sent Leonard to Vegas, and he wasn't bad. He was okay, so it's just the goalie situation is one of those like touchy subjects for a Hawks fan because obviously. We've seen a lot of good goalies come through the Blackhawks in the last couple of years. Corey Crawford when he was good. Antti Raanta, he went to the Rangers. Now he's on the Yotes. And then Leonard, Scott Darling. Yeah, we had like all these good goalies, goalies who could go somewhere else and start. And, I don't know what happened this summer. And, like I said, Malcolm Subban, he's not the worst, but he's also not my first pick. And not anyone else's first pick in Chicago.
Yes, and you can only protect one, so
yeah, exactly.
At that point, maybe the Kraken do scoop them up. We'll see.
Yeah,
it
for
is
sure.
Fun to kind of daydream about the expansion draft. I thought it was so fun when the Vegas one happened because I was so young with like even the Preds when the Preds came in. I was kind of young to really remember how much like went into that. Were you guys even born yet for that one?
Jeez, probably not. I mean, obviously Vegas was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So we remember that one.
Yeah, that one was fun. So I'm looking forward to it. And then, seeing those jersey reveals and how sick they were, actually seeing like players put them on at like an expansion draft. That's gonna be cool. I'm excited.
For sure. No, I'm excited for it too. I think Seattle is the best place to put a hockey team in the U.S. Like that was left, and like they have obviously the Seahawks. They passionate fans, Mariners, passionate fans. Obviously, when the Sonics moved out, people were heartbroken. I'm glad they have their team, another team rather. Sorry.
Now I think it's going to be interesting to look at the divisions and how they're once again aligned.
Mhm.
I'm not too sure if they've talked about if it's going to go back to the way the old divisions were next year. I don't know if that's something that's been announced yet, but one of the things I'm hoping happens is even if they do, change the divisions around, I'm really loving these back-to-back games
Oh yeah.
against the same
For sure.
teams. It gives me like I don't want to say it gives me that baseball vibe because like in baseball it's just kind of boring. What I love about it though is it's like you get to see a game that is played a certain way, and then you get to see then like the next day the team who loses how they're completely strategizing differently, and you get to see almost a completely different team. And I think that's something that's so cool.
Yeah, it is.
The Islanders can go and play, the Devils and you know beat them up 5-1, and then the next day the Devils come out and they're like, okay, well, we're going to change our game plan. We're going to focus on focus on calling plays, and we're going to focus on our forecheck, or some of the things that didn't work last time, and all of a sudden the Devils come out and beat the Islanders. So I think that's super cool to see, and I'm hoping that continues. But one of the things I am missing, though, to be honest, is getting to know the division and getting to play all of the teams in the divisions that the way they're aligned now is great, because you really get to know that. But one of the things growing up that I always talked about was, as a young kid, I was never able to stay up late enough to watch West Coast games.
Oh yeah.
And the only way I really learned about West Coast teams and players was like through playing NHL video games.
Oh yeah.
So like for me, of course, being old as dirt, I was playing NHL 96 and 97, and like that's how I learned out, about guys like, Paul Kariya and Teemu Selanne and Luc Robitaille and all these guys that were over on the West Coast. So as far as NHL games are concerned, because we always love talking about them because they are a big part of why a lot of people love hockey. Do you guys recall your first NHL experience, like your first NHL video game experiences?
Oh,
I think I had NHL 07, I think, for like a PS2 or something.
Okay.
And it was like, I knew like, what hockey was and everything, but that was when I started like really paying attention to my dad, watching the games and everything on TV and everything. And I was like, oh, this is cool and everything. Started to like, try to find a cool team. And that's actually part of the reason too why I picked the Sabres as like my sort of like go-to team. I thought it had like the coolest logo out of the New York teams, So I was like, oh, these guys are sick. So I was going for that, not knowing. But so went in for that. And I don't know, man. Like I fell off of it for a while because I never really played a lot of sports video games. But he actually got me to pick up Shell 21 recently, and it's just insane how far the game has come. Because I played 07 when I was like 6 years old back then. And now I'm playing it at 20. It's ridiculous, like the detail there is into like the just the movement on the players and everything, and also just how ridiculously good some of these kids are, man. Like playing World of Chell is just like not fun like half the time. I feel like just because you get just absolutely laid out by like some kid just screaming at you.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely cool though, man, and it's cool how it's like played such a big part in just hockey culture. And like getting to collect all the jerseys and everything, like the gear bags and everything now. It's really cool, man. It's become such a sort of subculture of the culture that's been really fun to follow.
Oh, for sure. And we were lucky enough to have Steve and what is it?
Sabel,
yeah. From EA Sports, and to hear them just so passionately talk about our scene of music and like how they handpicked every single song going back to 2002. It was just so special to find that out.
I mean, that's something I couldn't get over. Like when I first put in Shell 21 and I heard the soundtrack pulling up, and it's like all shit that we like genuinely enjoy, and it's like, yo, it's just crazy how like coinciding like hockey and like just this alternative music scene just has stayed like for forever, for as long as I can remember, at least.
Yeah, I mean, thank God. Otherwise, this podcast wouldn't be at 111 at all. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Out of It. So, you guys, I had the opportunity to, check out a couple of the songs. The EP is rad, but it's so cool to kind of hear the direction that you guys are going in Jaden Dunked It. Like I was saying to Mikey, it's like it's so hard to get a read on these guys. It's like you take all of the elements of like pop punk from the ages and kind of like mash them together. Like I literally said to Mikey, I was like, dude, I'm listening to this one song. I'm like, I'm getting like 45 seconds of Newfound Glory. Then I get this easy core part. Then I'm getting this story so far part. Then I'm getting a breakdown. Then I'm getting a little of this electronic stuff. It's like all of the good things about pop punk over the years, you guys have taken and like put into a blender and like has essentially come out to be the way that you guys write your songs. So it's super cool. And dare I say, like, it's almost refreshing to hear because it's like you guys, it's like you've taken the lineage of this music and you're using it to like paint this picture in your song. So I'm super intrigued to hear a little bit about your writing process and, where you take your inspiration from and how you guys, take a song from a riff to a whole song. How does that happen for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that. We should have a ghostwriter that writes all our stuff.
There you go.
But no, man. I mean, that's awesome to hear because that's genuinely like what we really try to achieve. We both grew up, just hearing the Blink era, Sum 41 era, like you were saying, and that was all the rage back when it was like up in the forefront of the scene, and it was really cool to grow up during that. So we kind of have that.
Back when we were 3 years old.
Yeah, I mean 3 years old, but even still, like growing up, like when we were in elementary school and middle school, like it was still pretty much at the forefront of like like what was on the radio, because you heard Blink on the radio, you'd hear even like when we were growing up, like the boy band shows still had like the whole pop punk vibe, like what was it, Big Time Rush was like a sort of like definitely pop oriented, but still had the vibe of like sort of pop punk alternatives, like whatever riff. So growing up with that, we definitely have that nostalgia, and then definitely like hearing where the direction of pop punk specifically where it's going now, and how it's taking elements from trap, from pop and emo, all these different genres, like blending together. It's really interesting to see where it's going, and we're really trying to incorporate the future and where the music scene kind of wants to take it, but also being like, hey, like this is still the stuff that we loved hearing when we were growing up, and the stuff that people get nostalgic over. You're seeing like on TikTok right now, everyone just finding out about Dear Maria Count Me In, and even like Bring Me the Horizon songs. You're like, yo, this is right, and it's like, yeah, this has been out for a decade. Like, where you been? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But I don't know if you want to add anything to that in terms.
Yeah, like backing up everything you said. For the writing process, it's weird, man. Like we usually, like, I don't want to say the cliche thing. It's like, oh, I heard it in my head. I gotta go sit down and like grab a guitar. It's like, even though that is true, but it's like sometimes, that's what you do. But I mean, it almost starts as like, so if I have an idea, I'll just like either like hum it out in my head or just go to my computer, track it, and then I send it to him immediately, and then he'll take whatever I have and like put his twist on it. And like we kind of just like send it back and forth until there's like this one, thing. And then we're like, all right. And then we sit together and we're like, okay, this is what we have. You had this part, I had this part, you had this part, I had this part, put it together, see what happens. And that's literally, especially when COVID-19 first struck, like for the first 4 months, we weren't even like, we didn't see each other for that time. So we would literally, just FaceTime and be like, hey, I got this riff, whatever. And like we actually ended up so the stuff that that's coming out, like we're dropping like our whole thing's out of its summer right now. We're dropping a song every month, and we got to work with the people at the Audio Compound with Andrew Karpovic, and it's run by Andrew Wade. And that totally was an eye-opening experience, game changer from what like we were here and just stepping foot in that door, just like, shoot, and like like it's the stuff we're dropping. You're gonna hear a lot more of the the modern
new age
stuff, but you're still gonna get hit in the face hard with the pop punk elements, like hard, like and like I would say this is to date our best stuff yet, 100%. By far.
100%.
I was actually, gonna send you over a little clip of that,
That'd be cool.
of a quick like 30 seconds of our newest song coming out next month called Clockwork.
Mhm.
So.
Oh yeah, you gonna let us do a little debut ski here?
Yeah,
Pretty
dude.
sweet.
Ooh, I love those, dude. That's awesome. That is sweet. It's we always love doing that because it's it means a lot to us, that you trust us with giving us that insight a little early. But it's always great because we try our very best to incorporate as much as we can around the alternative scene. Not just in the pop punk realm. And the great thing about that is it just opens ears. And I think that is one of the best things about what this podcast has allowed us to do. We've gotten to talk to, big, huge established bands, but we've also gotten to talk to smaller bands who are out there, on the road, scratching and surviving. And sometimes we find that it feels even better when we complete these interviews with smaller bands that are getting established, because it's just like we have an opportunity to hear new things ourselves, but we also have an opportunity to make sure that other people are hearing it and other people are enjoying it. So that is something I'm totally pumped about. So I'm super stoked to have a little clip play as we shoot out of this interview. So thank you guys so much for giving us that opportunity. So
I'm just going to call Tom out because Tom and I have mutual access to our Instagram account that we run together. Clearly,
So
Tom
he
did not.
definitely knew about this.
No, he clearly didn't check our messages because he never does.
So here's the deal, man. I'm getting married in 2 months. I got to do all this shit.
Okay.
I literally today's my day off from work. They tried to call me into work. They're like, "Hey, someone called out. Do you want to come in?" And I was like, "No, I got to get fitted for a suit. I got to do this with the marriage license. I got to do this. I got to do that." So it's just like, I'm sorry that I didn't have the opportunity to go on Instagram. I'm sorry that I just can't hike the Crowders all the time. I'm not as cool as you, Michael. I'm sorry.
No one even knows what that means, but I did hike a mountain, and I'm going to put that on my tombstone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In a pair of Vans. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that is the most committed you can be to the scene possible, and I respect that so much.
Yeah, my calves are still burning right now, but
Like, what made you think that you should hike a mountain in Vans? Like, what made
honestly,
you
that is pretty
that?
much all I own. I have all different styles of Vans, and then a pair of Crocs that I walk my dog in. So it was like Crocs or Vans. What are we gonna do?
All right. I mean, look, listen. You should have worn the Crocs. I'm just saying. So all right. So real quick, I want to hear a little bit more about the process that you guys are going through with releasing a song every month. So what made you guys decide to release music this way as opposed to releasing like just a full album or another EP? What was your thought process in kind of doing it, a song a month?
I would say just how people are nowadays. I don't think people have attention spans to sit down. I need to listen to this whole album real quick, unless it's your favorite band. But we tried it before, and like it sucks because like some of the songs like on the EP that's up on Spotify, like I think, speaking for both of us, one of our favorite songs is towards the end, and it just got overshadowed by everything in the front, and like, and I think that every song we put out, like for the time being, like we just want it to have its own, like light of
Spotlight.
spotlight, light of day, light of the month, like whatever it is, and I think it works better that way too. So yeah.
And also, I mean, like just going into the studio, like obviously we're constantly writing, and if we wanted to compile everything into one sort of cohesive thing, like an EP or an LP or whatever, we definitely could, but it's also really refreshing to go into the studio and be like, hey, here's this one thing we're going to tackle for the next 2 days. We're going to focus all our attention on it, track everything, do all the post-pro, all the pre-pro, get all taken care of, and just make it the best that it can possibly be on its own, and not have to worry about
the three other songs.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure they all sound like in the same realm of cohesiveness or whatever. But yeah, and it's been, especially for the pandemic too, just the way we've written things, it's been like the most apart that we've been for the writing process, but also the most, like, I guess, sort of together, if that makes sense, for lack of a better word. Because like he was saying, like he is completely free in the middle of the day to like flesh out an entire idea and be like, hey, here's what I'm hearing, take this and run with it, and then I can do the same thing to him, and we're not like sort of like on top of each other and trying to get like our ideas like over the other person and just trying to be the loudest person in the room, because we're both super like forward thinking and I think like headstrong people in terms of like writing music, because we're always like, oh, this is what I'm hearing, it's got to sound like this, you know what I mean? And while that could be great, you know what I mean, because obviously, you know, making your voice heard and getting your idea down is cool, it also could just be really unproductive when it's just two people like, you know, shouting over each other. So it's made a lot more sense to just work on one song at a time, because, you know, we have two different ideas and we got to kind of like, you know, find the middle ground, figure out which one's better, you know what I mean? So making one song has just been a lot more just doable in that regard.
So are you saying that you are going into the studio separate times?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
no, yeah, no. so like we'll definitely like track multiple songs, but yeah, no, it's just it's sort of like the mindset thing where we're just like compartmentalizing like the way that we track and the way that we record. So it's not like, okay, it's, you know, song 1, song 2, song 3, song 4. It's just like, hey, here's song 1, take as much time we need with it, get it over with, you know what I mean? You know, get through all the ideas we want to get through, put everything down to make it as polished as possible, and then we'll think about the next thing, you know.
Okay. Yeah, because Tom and I are like the old souls that still listen to albums, but I could see, you know, you guys are way younger than us, so you have
Right.
a totally different experience. So it's cool to see how things have changed in that aspect. And then like you said, like the TikTok culture, like Tom and I, we have a TikTok, but we don't know what we're doing on there. Like we just randomly post our video, like our little 1-minute clips on there, and that's it. So like we don't know the algorithms and all the craziness on that platform, but, you know, releasing a song a month and, you know, get it on some Spotify playlists that way, it's a totally different way of approaching the music scene, and that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, especially for like lower, you know, just let I'm not thinking, smaller bands, you know what I mean, that just don't have all the eyes on them that, you know, these bigger bands do, that if they were to drop, you know, even a 3 or 5 track EP, they, you know, they'd get the time of day from people to listen to it, because it's like, oh, okay, I know these guys, you know, they put this song out that I like, let me give these 5 songs a spin. It's a lot different being just like a younger, just hungrier band, you know what I mean, trying to be up and coming, to get that attention span from people right now that's just so, you know, just like precious at this point, you know? It's almost like, you know, the attention span is like almost more important than anything, you know, money could bring at this point, because attention is what's going to get, you know, clicks on the internet. It's what's going to get people to share it with their friends and everything. And it's cool because Spotify especially has, you know, a lot of people will complain about Spotify and how, like, you know, royalties are split up and everything. But it's honestly the most organic way I think music's been shared in a minute since, like, you know, the LimeWire days and everything, where it's just like, you can send a friend a track, you know what I mean? And they don't have to buy an album or anything to listen to one song, or you know, even buy the track. They could just, like, you know, spin it on Spotify or on YouTube or wherever, SoundCloud even, you know, that's why SoundCloud took off, because, you know, people just uploading their lo-fi beats that they recorded in their basement, you know, and becoming the next big thing, dude.
What's
like,
a basement?
Oh yeah, well, we don't know what basements are, so
no basements in Florida, man. But
now we're at.
But I totally hear what you're saying, and it's an interesting perspective, because it's not something that, like, I've ever thought of until you really put it that way. And I think you're absolutely right. Like the generation that's younger than us definitely has a difference in attention span. And, you know, when I think of the music that I grew up listening to, you know, in like the early 2000s, you know, through 2005, 2006, I was so interested in listening to, you know, full CDs, full albums. And all of these bands were putting out concepts that were like, that revolved around, you know, telling stories, like a whole story. Like, you have to listen to the whole record to get the whole picture of what they're trying to convey. And, you know, we, on our little, you know, Mikey and I, we have our little offshoot 2001, 2005 that we do. And we've talked already about 2 albums, you know, Armor for Sleep's What to Do When You're Dead, and Say Anything's Is a Real Boy that are specifically those albums. They're collections of songs that you could listen to separately and, pick your favorite song. But, the artist's intention was like, we want you to listen to it from track 1 to track 12 because we're telling like a lengthy story here. So, but on the flip side, you guys are telling your stories in short bursts, which is much better for a generation that wants to consume in short bursts. So that makes a lot of sense. And to your point, talking about, music streaming, it's huge because even now, I'm a big vinyl guy. I started back up collecting vinyl. I talk about this every episode because I have like an addiction to it, I guess. I don't know.
One more time
it
you
sucks.
bring it up, we're having an intervention. We're gonna have like
one more time you bring it up and have an intervention.
Well, that's half the fun of collecting
guests
vinyl.
all our past
But-
guests come on and sit you down in a room and have that intervention. Because when he mentioned it like a year ago that he was getting back into collecting vinyl, I was like, Tom, like, it's not gonna end well. And it's already spiraled.
I mean, it's not spiraled. I definitely it maybe it's spiraling, but it's not spiraled. So I mean, it's like it's halfway there. But the reason I bring that up is because, when I decide if I'm going to pre-order a record, the way I decide it is by going on Apple Music and going on Spotify. I'll pre-save a record and I'll listen to the single that they drop. And getting to listen to that for free. I don't have to pay anything other than the $10 they pay a month or whatever. Yeah. A great example is, I don't know if you guys are fans, but the band Free Throw, their new record, right? So they just announced that they're putting out a record at the end of June through Triple Crown. And, it popped up and it said, hey, this is coming out. And I said, oh, dope. Let me just shoot over to Apple Music. Shot over to Apple Music, listen to the single, love the single, pre-order the record. So I think that's a huge tool that, didn't always exist before because you can make a decision as to whether or not you want to buy something and at least know that you're going to, presumably enjoy it. And, for a band like you guys who are, again, at that point in your careers where the tipping point is coming for you, having everyone's immediate access to your music, the more your streams go up, the more quote unquote clout you get, but not really clout, more like just the more eyes you get on you, because streams are kind of this music generation's way of determining what works and what doesn't, So, long time ago, in our age, it was like, how many people are coming to your shows? How many CDs have you sold? But now it's like, if a label wants to sign you, they're going to look at the band that has 50K streams and 500K streams, and they're going to go, okay, well, that works.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really ingenious way. And maybe it's not always exactly the right way, but it just shows that you can hustle. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where you guys are at, where you guys are all about the hustle. And I think that's awesome. And I hope that it ends up working out in your favor. And I think it's going to, because you guys are fantastic and you have great music. But do you guys ever, knowing that this is kind of the direction that things go, and, certain fame essentially is dictated by the amount of streams you get, is that ever something that, like, you guys kind of incessantly, like, you wake up in the morning, you're like, shit, we only got 500 listens today. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, that's definitely this guy over here for sure.
Oh yeah, they do. If the song's stale, the song's stale. You gotta keep moving. You can't sit there and be like, man, I put all the time into it. It's like, no, dude. Like, we have other songs in the vault that we just need to go with those.
So I mean, to his point, like it is like an immediate sort of like sign of like, okay, is this song good or bad? You know what I mean? It may not be like the objective truth of like whether or not this song is good or if it's our best material or worst material, but it is something that you can't just really ignore. You know what I mean? At the very least, it's a like sober reminder of like where you're at. You know what I mean? In terms of like how many fans actually are listening to your music. You know what I mean? Or how much, like you were saying, how much clout you actually have. Because I mean, to your point, like you're saying, like the labels look at streams. It's not even just labels, man. It's like booking agents and venues. You know what I mean? That to get on a show, they want to see that you can walk the walk and talk the talk. You know what I mean? They could be like, hey, sell 30 tickets, but why take that risk on a band that has 10 monthlies versus a band that has 1,000 monthlies? Because the band that has 1,000 monthlies is most likely going to sell your tickets, fill your room. You know what I mean? Get people at the bar, and that's ultimately what venues and promoters care about. But it's just a matter of hitting the right stride of putting out content like often enough to keep that attention span, which is something that we've kind of struggled with in the past, and that's why we're trying to do the whole single a month thing and pounding in the out of its summer sort of like aesthetic and vibe, and making sure that we're gonna be on the forefront of people's like timelines like consistently, and not just once every 6 months when we're like, oh hey, we worked really hard on this EP. Hope you guys will listen. You know what I mean? And another reason why we're trying to do the single aspect now, because it's while obviously quality is a thing, we want to make sure we're putting out the best stuff possible, and it's why we're focusing on one song at a time. Just the name of the game nowadays, especially, is just quantity. It's like if you're not uploading something to Spotify every, God forbid, every 4 months, then it's like you're falling behind. You know what I mean? Because band over here that's literally 2 blocks down the road is surpassing you in streams and followers and whatever. You know what I mean? And it's just, you can't sleep right now, man. It's just you gotta hustle, and like that's our whole thing right now. Especially, we're just trying to hustle before things open back up entirely, so that way when things do go back to 100% normal, we'll be ahead of the game, and we're not just like, hey guys, we're back with everything else. You know what I mean? We want to be on people's minds before that even happens. So,
and that's such a good point. Like, when Tom and I were going to shows in the early 2000s, like Tom, how many times did you lie to a promoter or a venue and say like, yeah, we're gonna sell like hundreds of tickets, and like probably every single time when you were in high school. But you can't do that now, because exactly what you brought up. They're gonna be like, all right, let me see your monthly streams, let me see how many social media followers you have. Like, that didn't exist when Tom was playing shows. Like, that's great. Like, and it makes complete sense. And then, the point that you brought up, like, when things open back up, we don't know what the show is going to look like. We don't know how venues are going to regulate how many people can come in, or how many shows they're going to play, a week or a month or whatever it may be. So that means that venues are going to be so much more selective on who they let into their venue to play a show. Right. And it's just like, like you said, being ahead of that and thinking, things are going to be opening up in, hopefully by the summer or into next year, whatever it may be. And you guys are building up now so that when it does come back, you're ready to show them like, yo, this is what we got. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And that's smart. Now your secret's out though. So hopefully Justin from Out of Time's not listening, because he's like the social media guru over here. He's like gonna be like, all right, here we go, single a month.
Hey man, we're here to help. Yeah, no. I mean, no, but for real, like it is something that we kind of learned, especially like during all this. It's all about who you surround yourself with too. Like making sure you're surrounded with people that are hustling too and are like-minded and want the same end game. You know what I mean? Because when it comes down to it, you don't want to be a dick. You always want to help, your local bandmates. You want to help local bands around you, because it's all about networking, man. It's all about, making friends, being cool with people, like, helping each other out and everything. Because that's what makes a music scene, man. Nobody likes a shitty music scene with bands that, talk shit about each other or whatever, or where nobody wants to play shows. It's just it's all about being cool, and that's the biggest thing that we try to do. And we try to be, a big sort of, I don't know, just be cool.
Family, a big family.
Honestly, yeah. For lack of a better word, a big family.
But it makes sense because, Orlando is on my radar now. And, like, I don't live in Orlando. And everything I'm hearing is just all this great pop punk that's coming out of that area. So if you have, like, a close, tight-knit network where you guys are all homies with each other and you're all drawing, 50 to 100 kids to a show, if the 4 bands on the bill are doing that, you now have a packed room. Yep. The energy is in the build. Like, that's how you put Orlando on the map. And, like, you guys could be the next Long Island. Like, take it from us.
That's the goal, man. That's the goal. Just getting as much eyes on this scene as we can, because there's some really good shit here. And
do you guys still have that one venue in Long Island? It was like some like popular ass like pop punk scene like venue. I don't remember what it was called, but it was in like a couple documentaries. They were talking about closing it.
Oh,
Are
you talking about like CBGBs in the city? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about?
No, that's been long closed.
I feel like there was one in like Long Island, like in Farmingdale area. Like there was, I don't remember what it was called, but
you're talking about the crazy donkey.
There's
maybe
been a bunch like the downtown, but that's been closed since
Oh, you know what? The one that did just close recently was Revolution.
That's what it was called, Revolution.
Yeah, that one has had a lot of names over the years. I think what was that one called before? It was Ollie's Point, I think. And then I'm trying to test you, Mikey. I don't remember. And then it might have been like one of the Molly Blooms potentially, or I don't know. But yeah, that venue was around a long time, and unfortunately, it was one of the venues that was was an unfortunate circumstance of the pandemic. One of our favorite venues, Amityville Music Hall, has been struggling too. So much so that this really great contingent of people, they go under the name Long Island Emo. They book shows, they do a lot of things. They actually cultivated this incredible comp to try to raise money, for the guys who own AMH and all this stuff, because it's so hard to keep a small venue like that open when you don't have any shows. So, and I know Orlando's feeling it too. Orlando is, there are a lot of smaller venues in Orlando, like your Will's Pub and, and all of those places that are probably hurting pretty bad too. So, that's one of the things that I think the music scene has done, save for a couple of stragglers, and Justin from Out of Time can tell you all about the one that's been like trolling him, like these like dummies that have been playing shows without any sort of precautions or anything. But for the most part, the music scene has come together to try to influence being safe so that we can get back to playing shows. And now the music scene is trying to really push people getting vaccinated, because as soon as we start getting some herd immunity going, we could potentially get back to actually having shows. And you're starting to see it. There have been some little inklings. You start seeing some flyers and things of tours that are potentially coming back in October and November and December, and that's all contingent upon whether it is safe, but it's going in the right direction. And guys like you who are trying to promote a safe culture, guys like our homies in Out of Time and all that stuff, it's really an awesome thing, because without it would just be so haphazard, and who knows what it would turn into. So at least we're getting something where everyone is coming together to try to influence people in the right direction to just be safe, get vaccinated, so we can start playing shows. So on that note, shows are eventually going to come back, and I'm sure you guys are going to just kind of jump right on it again and get back into it. But do you guys have anything that you had been planning before the pandemic? Anything that's on the horizon that maybe you had to kind of put a stall to, and you're going to try to start back up? Anything that was going on?
So right before COVID hit, we were supposed to play House of Blues with Magnolia Park at 408. They're like our brothers. Those are our
awesome.
best friends.
Okay.
Yeah. So that didn't happen. As of now, we have nothing planned.
Okay.
I actually got vaccinated today. So
good for you. Yeah, congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you. And I think what's gonna be like number one on our list, like obviously like we're itching to play a show. Like don't get us wrong, but we want to leave Orlando. We want to go explore like everything else, like we want to like meet other bands in other states. And we actually had a tour booked. And with 408 actually, and this was in January, and we were going up the East Coast. We were going to North Carolina, like Virginia, and then some snowstorm came, and then like two venues pulled out. So we were like, all right, we're just not going to go. So that was that. So I think, like you, Ray, we all just want to tour so bad, and and that's like that's where we're at right now,
honestly.
Now, I saw something where you guys with some of the other like local Orlando bands played as other like pop punk bands.
Yeah, we played as Yellowcard.
Pretty cool.
So tell me about that, because I saw it like pop up on my news feed, but I was like, wait, how did this come about? How did you guys pick like what band you were gonna play their songs? Like, fill me in on that whole thing.
It was put together by Felicity, another dope local band that we're buddies with, and the dopest promoter in Orlando, Marshall from Montgomery Drive. They put together like a live stream event sort of thing where it was like, oh, it's going to be all cover bands, you know what I mean? Because it's awesome, you know what I mean, that all these local bands are putting out super cool original stuff, but especially, nowadays during pandemic times, you know what I mean, the big thing people want to see in live music with local bands, you know what I mean, is like kind of covers, you know what I mean? Because watch a live stream, with a band covering, Yellowcard or Paramore or whatever. It's hype, you know what I mean? It kind of brings you back to the shows that you miss, the bands you miss seeing live and everything. So they really wanted to capitalize on that, which was an awesome idea. And all the proceeds went to, was it the Save Our Stages?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, like a nice a cause for it to hopefully help out some of the local venues around here. And it was pretty cool, man. It was us, Loudmouth was another local band, Felicity.
Out of Time was supposed to do it.
Out of Time was supposed to do it.
I know Mike actually sang for Mike Forbes. Yeah, he sang for Loudmouth. They did
Man Overboard. Yeah. So everybody just kind of picked their own pop punk like staple to cover, and we chose Yellowcard. And it was a really cool set, man. They actually rented out one of the local venues. It was just a production crew and all the bands performing and everything. They kept everything super safe, super sanitary.
But we didn't get to be there because someone had to work.
Yeah, our boy, like, it was a whole thing, too, just trying to get the venue, some moving dates around and everything, and it ended up where they moved the date kind of at the last minute sort of thing, where our boy couldn't get off of work and everything. I think that's part of the reason why Mike sang for Out of Time, too, actually, or for Loudmouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was awesome, man. Like, seeing everybody again and almost like, obviously we weren't at the venue. We ended up recording it at our boy's studio, but just seeing all the bands together, like on the same stage and in the same event, it sort of gave us a sense of like normalcy again, which is really, really cool to see, and really, it made us miss shows even more. But yeah, I mean, like to your point about seeing like the music scene and how cohesive everybody can be and how like-minded everyone is to try to get in the right direction and ahead of everything. Doing what we can to still be a band and help out venues and give the right message to people. You know what I mean? It was really cool to see, especially knowing all these bands from Orlando. Seeing the Orlando scene come together and be really cool.
So what did you guys do for the violin parts?
Some of it was like leads to guitar that we figured out.
Okay.
Other than that, it was just kind of like, okay, what can we sort of make our own rendition of? You know what I mean? So a lot of the songs were just our sort of like take on them.
Okay.
But we still played the whole song through and everything. It was a lot of fun to kind of like pick them apart and be like, okay, you're gonna do this lead on this part. I'm gonna take this lead while you're singing and everything.
Sweet.
But it came together really, really cool, man. And all did an awesome job.
I'm just curious, which era Yellowcard stuff did you play? Like, we're talking like
Ocean. Yeah.
All right. What songs off of Ocean did you play?
We played Way Away, Breathing,
Only One,
yeah. Ocean, and then off of Lights and Sounds, we played Lights and Sounds. So,
see, Yellowcard is one of those bands, man. Like, they don't. I feel like One for the Kids doesn't get enough love.
Oh yeah,
I love
way
that record. I love that record.
Born for that.
One of my favorite. Dude, that's right. You guys probably weren't born for that, but and God, that makes me feel so old. And I'm gonna tell you why that makes me feel so old, right? So I'm pretty sure One for the Kids came out in 2001, right?
Oh, we were there then. We were here.
Just barely.
And is that the one with like Sure Shot on it?
Yeah, it was on the Sure Shot and Drifting and Something of Value.
Okay.
So the way that I found out about Yellowcard, interestingly enough, and the same way that I found out about that band Rufio, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
I've heard. Yeah, we know who Rufio is.
Great band. So anyway, my kind of like musical idol in high school was my buddy Mike, and he kind of like put me on to all these different bands. And one of the first shows that I ever went to, one of the first general admission shows I ever went to was Saves the Day Thursday in Hey Mercedes. which was just like a killer show, an awesome first show to be to. But I went with my buddy Mike and his buddy Dustin, and while they were driving in the car to that show, he was like, "Yo, check out this band I just found out about. They're on Lobster Records. They're called Yellowcard. They got a violin player." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm like 14. I'm like, violin player? That's weird."
You're
So
like,
he
next.
puts on one for the kids, and I'm like, "Yo, this is incredible." So one for the kids like really has my heart with Yellowcard because that was my introduction to them. And as great as Ocean Avenue was, as great as Lights and Sounds was, and Paper Walls, and like all the all of their like their next kind of lineage in their music, one for the kids is just the one that's always kind of stuck with me. I'm always that guy who likes the later records. That's kind of like my go on record thing. Like I'm always like, oh, this new record is their best. Like everything before it was good, but this is really their best stuff. I love how they matured and da. But Yellowcard was just the opposite for me. It's just like I found a home in that old stuff, but I'm love that you guys went and played that stuff. But if you ever play Yellowcard again, definitely play Drifting, because like that is just the jam. Or Avondale, or any of the songs from that EP were also jams, like straight certified jams. So always play the certified jams. But I love that you guys did that, and the fact that it was all for Save Our Stages is so important, and we can't stress that enough, how important that is. So so we've been chatting for like an hour. I just want to get I have one last question to ask, and I'm sure Mike, you will pepper in, because that's what he likes to do. He likes to throw the pepper to my salt. And so kind of bringing it full circle, talking about hockey and alternative music. Have you guys, so like Out of Time, for instance, they have those jerseys that they've made, and knowing that you play hockey and have played, have you guys, even if it's just on the drawing board, have you guys tried to conceptualize any way to bring hockey and your music together?
I mean, I'm always down. Hockey is my favorite thing in the world, and then punk, like both of them. I don't know, man. Like I want to, obviously, State Champs already did the Hard to Please video, which that was actually my introduction to State Champs, and that was when I was like, all right, these guys got it.
Yeah, there you go.
The jersey thing would be cool. I don't know, maybe what would be something funny out of it? Remember those they don't sell them anymore. Remember probably 90s, early 2000s, at games they had the puck heads. They were the styrofoam. Imagine you're out of it,
remember those.
Or foam fingers, something like that. That'd be cool. Mini sticks, something I think that'd be pretty cool. I would love to incorporate. Sorry, anything hockey into our music. Oh, dude, duh. We have one of our first songs. It's actually our first song on Spotify. It's called One Timer.
All right, there you go.
So, and it's just a straight, balls to the wall. So, and that song's called One Timer. So there you go. I guess that counts.
No, that definitely counts. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude. Eventually, way down the road, or maybe not way down the road, we'd love to do a Violent Gents collab. Dude, that shit they just did with Seaway, ridiculous, man. Those jerseys are so sick. But
they kill everything they do. They're so good.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. But maybe down the road, maybe we'll make some DIY jerseys or something.
That'd be cool.
We actually made custom outfit basketball jerseys for our latest music video for Dunked On. And we're thinking about maybe when shows come back or something, we could do a raffle where it's you buy a ticket, you're automatically entered for a raffle to get a custom outfit jersey or something. Maybe we could do something like that with hockey sweater. That'd be pretty sick. But those are some money things, because you're gonna make a sick jersey, man. You got to go all out. You can't be half-assed with a hockey jersey.
Yep, and unfortunately, all the men's league sweaters and things like that, those big companies that do really nice jerseys, they want you to do at least 15, and each jersey's $75 or more.
Crazy.
That's a lot of cash for sure. Well, I mentioned Out of Time. I got the Solar Bears Out of Time mashup that they got. Do you guys catch Solar Bears games?
Oh
You
yeah,
used to.
dude. I used to have season tickets to Solar Bears when they came back, and because they used to be the Solar Bears were a thing, and then we had I think an AHL team called the Seals, and then Solar Bears obviously came back. But no, dude, Solar Bears that is the biggest bargain in Orlando. Like tickets are like $14, like literally $14 like first bowl, probably like $25 glass, and like it's just such a steal. And like and I think in the ECHL, you guys could fact check this. I think they have the best like fan attendance per night. So that's always good to see, and they're just fun to go to.
Yeah, and Tom had tickets. What was it this season or last season? I remember
No,
there
it was
like
this
some
season.
crazy story.
So my sister-in-law for my birthday decided she was going to surprise me with tickets to a Solar Bears game, and so like they kept this secret from me, and they did a great job. Like my fiance and I are notorious for not being able to keep secrets from each other. Like every Christmas we buy each other stuff, and by like the day after Thanksgiving we know what we got each other, because we're just like, oh, I got you this cool thing. You want to know what it is? No. Okay. Do you want to know what it is? Yeah. Okay. This is what it is.
Yeah.
We just have no impulse control when it comes to trying to keep things from each other. But anyways, I was super impressed with my fiance and her sister, like keeping this a full-on secret. So the day that we're supposed to go, they are like, I just got out of work, and they're like, hey, we're going to pick you up. We're going to go to dinner for your birthday. It's going to be awesome. So my fiance picks me up, and like I could see like she picks me up and she's like totally not engaging me. Like her head is elsewhere. And so I'm like, I'm not really putting two and two together.
Yeah.
But now I realize she's panicking because she picked me up and just got a call from her sister saying that due to a COVID scare, they postponed the game.
Oh,
so now they're literally trying to like figure something out on the fly, and my fiance literally has the worst poker face in the world. So if anything is ever wrong or she's anxious, I know immediately. So I'm just like, okay, what's going on? What's going on, Amanda? What's happening here? And then so finally, she brings me to like my sister-in-law's house, and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like we had this whole night planned. Like they made signs and everything.
Oh,
They made a big Bardown breakdown sign, which was great.
Go.
And then I started piecing it all together in my head, because like 2 weeks before that, my sister-in-law like hit me up and she was like, hey, one of my friends is like a hockey fan that I work with. Like, what's your like socials? And I'm like, oh yeah, they're here.
Man.
Then I see the sign and it's got all the socials on it, and I'm like, you son of a gun. But so they rescheduled it, and actually, funny enough, they rescheduled it. I think it's actually in another like 2 or 3 weeks or something. So
there you go.
I'm stoked to go, because it'll be my first Solar Bears game. But
hell yeah.
Another funny story, real quick, is I actually ran into the one Stahl brother whose name I can't think of, that I guess is a coach for the Solar Bears. I think he's an assistant or something.
Is it Mark? Because Mark's not playing anymore, right?
There's four, right? There's four Stahl brothers.
There's Mark, Jordan. Did he play in the show?
I think this particular Stahl brother never actually played in the show. I think he was the one guy that never quite.
Oh, okay.
He was like one of those Hart brothers from like the wrestling Hart dynasty. He never quite made it. So that's what he was. But I work for Spectrum, the cable company, and he like came in one day.
Don't tell people that. Now everyone hates Spectrum.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, they're gonna like, yo, screw Tom.
Well, I'm sorry, bro. It is what it is, man. It's you hate the player. Well, no, hate the game, not the player in this particular instance. But anyways, yeah, he came in and like he was wearing like a Stahl Foundation shirt, and I was like, oh, cool, like the Stahl brothers, like Mark and Jordan, and he's like, yeah, I'm actually one of them, and I'm like, oh shit. So, and in my infinite wisdom, I didn't think to be like, hi, I have a podcast called Bardown Breakdown. You should come on it. Because I was like, this guy's gonna like be like, oh, cool, a podcast. Yeah, I'm never gonna talk to you again. So but he was like, yeah, I coach for the Solar Bears. You should come down to a game sometime. And I was like, yeah, I should. That'd be cool. So that's my other Solar Bear story.
Crazy. You got to go get your selfie with shades though. Like you got to put that on the gram.
Oh hell yeah, man! I'm all about shades. I'm all about it. Yeah, I'm for it, man. I'm totally for it. Any opportunity to see hockey, that's something me and Mikey had done a couple of times back when we lived on Long Island. We took the ferry across to Bridgeport and caught some Sound Tigers games, and they were always a blast. They had cheap beer, cheap food. No matter where you sat, you had a good view and angle of the ice. And I mean, like, when we were there, like, like who did we get to see? Like, we got to see some guys that ended up like coming up, didn't we?
Well, yeah. So this was probably like 2010, 2011. So I'm sure like Brock Nelson was on the team, and
Damn.
Yeah. So I mean, it was cool. I like there are certain names that I remember like specifically. No, never mind.
Tom,
I don't.
You think
remember.
I could remember back to 2010? Like,
there was some guy who was like on the Sound Tigers forever. Like he never made it up off the Sound Tigers. He was on the team for like 7 or 8 years, and he had like a foreign name, and I can't think of what it is.
Tom, that doesn't help me.
I don't know. It doesn't help. But anyways, so sick. I love the whole idea of the Solar Bears, and I definitely got to get to a game. So, final question to get one last little tidbit of info out of you guys. So, for the final question I have, when it comes to it, after you release this summer of songs, it's going to be super dope, and you start working on, your first full length. Who of all the labels out there is like your dream label? Like who would you want to put out like your first full official LP?
So the correct response is anyone.
Yes.
That is the correct response, but
for personal preference, I would say Pure Noise. I mean, they got the whole I feel like in general, I've read, they're huge hockey fans over there, and and state champs, obviously, like Derek Toscano, one of my idols. It's funny, actually, one year at Warped Tour, I had a 3-on-3 tournament, and my dad was the coach for it, and we went up to his tent. And my dad was like, "Hey, do you want to play in our 3-on-3 tournament?" And he was like, "Dude, I haven't played in like 6 years, but I definitely would." So that was kind of like a cool moment. But yeah, I would say Pure Noise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like the sort of variety that Fearless Records always had. Is because I'm into heavier bands too, and they always had some sick bands like they signed Ice Nine Kills pretty recently, a couple years ago. But they had some pop punk staples, man, like Mayday Parade. Dude, it's just, but I mean, really, anybody is the right answer for sure. But I don't know, Hopeless is awesome too, man. All Time Low, big pop punk staple. So
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, all those are definitely the right answers. But yeah, the right answer is legitimately anyone who loves us enough to throw some money at us and believes in us. But I mean, yeah, for you guys, I think Pure Noise would be an awesome fit. They just signed this dope band called Action Adventure.
Oh yes,
that are
so
great. Great band.
Instagram.
We found them on Instagram and TikTok, man.
That's it.
They released that like a
pop punk in color video. What was it? Oh,
would you listen?
Yeah, Barricades, is that the name?
Yes.
Barricades.
Oh man, it's like a minute long. That song just ripped from like the second you played it to the end.
Sick.
It's great. So yeah, shout out to Pure Noise always. Shout out to Jake for being dope. And since you brought up Fearless, shout out to Catera. The like only metal band with a cat lead vocalist.
That was funny. You saw that? It was like a Pantera parody.
Yeah.
It's just all cats.
That's the brainchild of our homie Anna. Who is a very she's a Devils fan who just gifted us 2 wonderful players. So very
awesome.
Very excited about that. But yeah, if you get a chance, anyone that's listening, go listen to Catera because it's Pantera but with a cat lead vocalist, and it's great. And at some point that cat is going to be a guest on this podcast, and I don't know how we're going to get an hour out of him, but we're going to.
Just a little catnip, little treats. You guys got it.
Yeah,
man. So guys, thank you so much for indulging us and being on the show. Thank you so much for giving us some insight into Out of It, and I sincerely hope, just for the sake of having some competition, that the Sabres are able to turn it around, because it's and like not that I'm trying to like drive the nail in, but like being where they are in the bottom of the barrel, it's just like it's such a bummer, because that team could have done such great things. So I'm really hoping that this offseason they find a way to rebuild and kind of bring themselves back into the name of contention. And then the Hawks, man, they're always scary. I mean,
scary,
the Hawks are one of those teams, man, that you might be downtrodden and sad about them now, but they can go on an 8 or 9 game run, and all of a sudden it's a whole different ball game. They're just one of those teams that, like, even if they limped into the playoffs, you were always terrified to play them, because if Kane and Tays got on one, all of a sudden you're just like, oh, we just got bounced out by this team that limped into the playoffs. And here they are scoring a million goals. So we just, Hawks and Sabres, we just, we wish for the best for those teams so we can, get some competition back. But more so than anything, freaking out of it, man. You guys are dope. And we're super stoked to hear what you guys got going on. We're super stoked to debut this clip of this new jam that's coming out. Since I don't know how to read Instagram, what's the name of this new jam?
Clockwork.
There you go.
It's coming out sometime in May. We don't know yet, but it's coming out in May. And this is our first single for all the audio compound stuff with Andy Karpovic. So we're super excited about that.
Hell yeah, man. So I hope you guys enjoy this little snippet of Clockwork. And then make sure when they decide to drop it, you go pre-save that ish on your Spotify, on your Apple Music. Make sure to stream the hell out of all of these songs for this sad boy summer.
Yes, sir.
That's what we need. Hell yeah, man. So guys, thank you again.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, just to plug the socials real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Plug away.
Yeah, man. Our YouTube, we're going to be a lot more active on. Just follow us on YouTube, Out of It Pop Punk. And then all our socials is that same thing. It's at Out of It Pop Punk, all one word, no caps. Just Facebook, Instagram, do it up. You know where it's at. And Spotify, of course, too, obviously. All our stuff's Spotify.
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's how you plug it, man. That's how you plug it.
For sure. To end on this note, thank you guys for having us. Honestly, good. The Isles, man, they're taking off. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do. Hopefully, it's not a first round exit, but it happens. Oh, one thing I gotta say about the Islanders though, the reverse retro, they fumbled the bag. The storm, like you know what I'm talking about?
Terrible.
Like
they should have went Fisherman, but we got Lou Lamoriello, so we can't have any fun. Like, look at poor Kyle Palmieri right now. You see that man? He is a man.
Shaved.
I know he is a man that needs to have a beard, and it does not look good on him. So,
oh boy,
yeah. If you thought we were gonna get the Fisherman, you were totally mistaken.
So let me just leave you with this. Just imagine if this whole time we thought it was Lou Lamoriello that wants all the Islanders to be clean shaven, but realistically it's Barry Trotz because he looks like a cue ball. So like as soon as a new player gets into the locker room, he kind of like slams them up against the wall and he's like, I don't have any hair, you can't have any hair. And they're like, yes, coach. Yeah, you got it, coach. And he's like, I can't have hair. You can't have hair. I can't have hair. And he just screams it at him over and over again until all the Islanders are terrified to have any facial hair. That's the way I like to think about my Islanders. Not that the GM is just like, hey, guys, we really want to keep it nice and clean. I just like to think that, like, even Lou Lamoriello is so scared of Barry Trotz and his hairlessness that he's just like, yeah, that hair thing is weird, but we just let him do what he's got to do.
Whatever works,
Through
man.
the effing island, guys. Through the effing island. Out of it.
Yeah.
2021. Big things are happening, guys. Go to those socials. Check them out. Pre-save the tracks. And I hope you enjoy the snippet we got coming up at Clockwork. Boys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
West side.
Oh, yeah. See you guys.
Take care, guys.